So we're in Sadi Tet. We're looking at the. We'll start with the tour, and we're talking about the bones. Them bones, will they rise again? We're talking about bones, and I would like us to be aware as we do this. What should we want to? I want us to pay attention to plenty of criteria in making these decisions, and all sorts of criteria seem to be added. So I think we should be listing criteria. Yavne, I'm going to ask you to start. Anybody else as well too, but I'll ask Yavne, if you see criteria coming, let's make a list of criteria in terms of how we make this decision. And everyone else can do that too. So that's one. And two is, I think we should stop ourselves. And as we see the micro discussions, I'd be interested to know what kind of reasoning is being used, or what kind of thinking is being used. And I'm not talking, you want to use jargon, you can use jargon, but I'm thinking you'll see as we begin, but I think it'd be interesting to know is how is this being thought through? And I will say now, but I say it almost about everything, but here, certainly in the tour and in the Nosei Kalim, you see a system being put together. Every time you add a criterion to the list of criteria, something's happening with the system. So, and I find myself in a great situation. Cheryl said to me, should she turn off the heat in the office? And I say later, and I don't know how she turns off the heat. It's getting hotter and hotter. So excuse me for a moment. Okay. Stop me if I go any further, all right? So for that regard, just to read the tour. So Alice, read Aleph in the read until I tell you no.
Yeah, exactly.
Aleph in the tour.
Okay, I don't have numbers.
You don't have a tour.
I have a tour. I don't have the numbers. You just tell me to stop. Okay. Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
I don't have the numbers in the tour. I have not all the edition on PDF, but you just tell me to stop. I can read on it.
It doesn't say Tzadi Tet.
Oh, Tzadi Tet, it does say. Okay.
Okay. So start Tzadi Tet.
I'm fine with it. Okay. חתיכת נבלה שיש בה בשר ועצמות, שנפל לגדרת של היתר, יש אומרים שעצמות האיסור מצטרפים עם בשר האיסור להצריך 60 כנגדו, ועצמות ההיתר מצטרפים עם בשר ההיתר גם כן לבטל האיסור. Okay.
Now, I will start here in terms of my questions. So first of all, what's the criterion? I'm so excited with myself when I get criterion and criteria right. So just ignore that. But what's the criterion that is being said here, Alice?
So, yeah, it looks like if it's part of the Isur or not, like if it's heter or if it's Isur. So it's the criterion here is yeah, it's just one piece of animal. So either it's kosher or it's asur. So I would say like up until now, still the criterion is if it's a forbidden piece of meat in general or not. I wouldn't say the distinction.
And if it use some term, if it's asur, then what?
I'm sorry, if it's asur.
If the bone, let's say,
if the meat is asur, then
right? If If the bones of Isur,
Mhm.
if the bones are from, wait, first of all, what does Atzmot Isur mean?
Uh, the bone which is in the forbidden piece of meat, like a
Okay,
chicken
fine.
leg, I don't know.
Okay, we don't need a chicken. It can be real meat.
Okay, good.
Okay, no, seriously, it'll be easier for us. Let's do it with real meat first. So at the Atzmot, yeah, and what happens? It goes where? What side is it on? There's two sides, right?
Mhm.
There's the Easter side and there's a Heter side, right?
Right?
There's a side that's doing Bitul, the side that's doing Easter, or getting, or being Oser. So
Mhm.
it's so that's where the Easter go where? I'm just bothering you. That's all I'm doing.
Mhm.
So where do they go?
They go with the Isur here, the
And
of the Isur. And the heter goes with heter. It's like
and what would you call this kind? See, this is what I said about having discussing, like thinking about things. What kind of reasoning is this?
so I mean it's
How would
quite
you label
it's
it?
quite it's I would say it's quite logical on one hand because it's part of the forbidden animal. So it's not yet much about taste. I would say it's
Don't give me other criteria. I mean, I'm just asking, what do you think this is? This kind of reasoning.
Okay.
This kind of reasoning.
I think to me it seems like it's simply it's a piece of forbidden meat and it has a bone in it.
I want you to label it.
Uh,
Label the reasoning process here.
well, it's I don't know how I would say that. I would just say it's just forbidden meat. Therefore, it's part of one animal, which is
No, you're describing it. I need a if you hear it from somebody else, you'll catch what I'm saying.
Sure.
Common sense. It's common sense. Of course,
common sense. Right here, I wrote this. Common sense opinion.
Okay.
What tips us off that it might not be the right one, even though it's common sense? Aaron?
The Torah introduces it as Yeshomrim.
Yeshomrim, right? Yeshomrim, right? So Yeshomrim kind of might tip us off, but nonetheless, this is the first thing that occurs to us. What does he think about it, the Torah? I don't know, but maybe we should go on for the next one. Continue reading Alish.
ורבינו שמשון כתב שאפילו עצמות האיסור מצטרפים עם ההיתר, לבטל האיסור. וכן היא מסקנת אדוני אבי הראש ז"ל.
Stop.
Okay.
Okay.
So Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Okay. Who was he, by the way?
So I don't know Rabbeinu Shimshon.
1150 to 1330, something like that. I looked it up because I keep on forgetting these things. From Sens, S-E-N-S, how do you pronounce that? Sens?
Sens.
Okay. Okay. Like a super Tosafos, because he's a Rabbeinu. Okay. We get a lot of Rabbenus here. Get a lot of bones, and we have a lot of Rabbenus. I wonder why that is. Okay. And what's he saying?
He's saying that the bones of the Isur, was it? He says that even the bones of the Isur join the Heter.
To do what?
To do what? To be mevatel, the Isur of the meat.
Yeah, to mevatel the Isur of the meat. The Isur status of the meat. And why does he say this? Or in my sense, then you can tell me. Then you can tell me what kind of reasoning it is. No, just looking at it. Is there anything to be said? Can he come up with a reason just by looking at it? The Torah doesn't give a reason, or does he? I don't know.
Not yet. Looks like.
But you don't see it. Okay, Ruben, what do you see?
Well, that the bones are not considered part of the Isur.
No.
It's called.
So therefore,
edible.
Therefore, like only something that's edible. Yeah, as Alice was saying.
No, you're giving me other stuff because thank God you prepared.
Okay, well, the bones are not considered that part of the.
Would be anything? Well, maybe edible, maybe not. How would
Because
they
the bones have
translate?
a special
What's the-
status.
How would he translate? I can't. Why am I screaming? You bear with me. The Asmota Isur. How does he translate Asmota Isur? Probably the same way, but somehow help me out. Asmota Isur.
The bones of the Isur.
It's
It's not the Isur bone, it's the bones of the Isur.
That's it. Right, that's it right now. Somehow, you have to give a reason why. And the reason why might be edible, but I haven't seen it on the page yet. I would say, I'm sure you all understand the Siman that we're doing, and we're getting it. So maybe what I'm doing today is a class in pedagogy, trying to teach myself. What do you do with students that you'll have going through this? What's being said in the here and now? Before you get to Pshat of Rashi, and by the way, the Sefer Pshuto Shel Rashi is now under Cherem. So make sure you go out and buy copies, sets of it, because any Sefer that goes under Cherem, it's worth 5 times the amount in a year from now. So it's a good investment opportunity. And I think I've seen it. It's not bad in terms of learning. If it's under Cherem. In any event, let's go back. What does it mean here? So I think, yeah. So I'm going to say, so my focus in how you understand, right? Atzmota Isur. Does it belong to the Isur Dika Fleisch? Or is it also, seems to have some shaykhs to Isur itself? But if it belongs, it means it's not really part of it. Okay. And then we'll have to give definitions and the rest of that. Okay. Anybody want to comment on that? No, you don't. Okay. Lefikach. Alish, go on. Lefikach.
לפיכך, הבא לבטל איסור שנפל לגדירה, יצטרף כל מה שבגדירה בין רוטב, בשר וכיפה ועצמות, ואפילו העצמות של האיסור. ואם יש בין הכל 60 מותר.
Okay. Talk about that for a moment.
So, לפיכך, therefore, if you want to annihilating or annulling Isur, which fell into the Gdeira, so you just mix like everything you have in the pot, you can use for the Bitul, you use, and it's Rotef, it's Basar, it's the small pieces of the we said like it was like whatever carrots, vegetables, all these pieces, and including the atzamot, and both atzamot of Isur and Heter, it all adds up. It all makes this 60 zayti, let's say, of something. So if you add all this up together, it counts. Like all of these things count.
What kind of comment is this? What kind of comment is this?
Like you mean from the perspective of Tur? Like,
don't ask me what I think. Tell me what you think. Don't
no,
ask me.
I ask you what you mean.
You see that struggling. Help me out.
So so I mean, like in the beginning we have some Yesh Omrim. We are opening the scene. Then we have a very concrete opinion of Rabbeinu Shimshon, which is, as you said, like without much explanation. And then we have basically like it's supported by Rosh, and then he says, therefore, like this is the situation. Like he's basically describing the case which was like introduced by Rabbeinu Shimshon. It's just I would say an example of what he says, like exploring.
Okay, we're getting further. But anybody else?
Well, he's explaining the math.
He's explaining who?
The math. Like how to go about calculating. Like if you have a practical solution, what do you do? So it's just giving you like a practical explanation.
What's going on is that this is a handbook, right? He's telling you what to do.
You could also read it as a bit of a
based on Rabbeinu Shimshon. Okay, telling you what to do. So what kind? So it's a handbook. He's telling you what to do. He's basically Rabbeinu Shimshon. What's the goal?
You could read this as a kind of hand wave, right? That no, don't worry about any of this psolet. The kipach, that's a mud, the whatever it is. It just don't sweat it.
And I would disagree with that. It's a legal document. Obviously, he's giving you a list of what to do. Like, there's no such a
What's
thing
the
as like,
goal?
don't sweat it.
But
it seems like he's looking for a kula, like, or looking for the, how can
There
I
you
possibly
go.
enable you to mevatel this isur? We know you want to mevatel this isur. Here's how you can do it. You can marshal all this stuff in service of heter, this long list of stuff.
I'll give you the title for the short story. Looking for 60. We're looking for 60. That's what we're doing here. So it's not just what it, right? He's not, it seems to be for the tour, that's the goal. Let's find 60. Lexi, what do you got?
I mean, I think we can talk about him like also like, trying to like help this, but I think we can also say like, without trying to get too much into the reasonings that are going to be provided in the Nosei Kelim, that like, yeah, the intuitive thing is that Bitul Isur is about like Isur being overwhelmed by other things such that it is made insignificant. And this is about saying that like everything that Isur is in an environment with that is not Isur is part of overwhelming it to make it irrelevant.
To make what irrelevant? Too many it's there. To make what irrelevant?
To make the Isur no longer like noticeable, nikar, like
yeah,
meaningful way there. That it's not just other things that look exactly like it that like mevatel it. It's everything that it is mixed within.
Yeah, but that seems to be pretty obvious. Like, why would he need to state that? Like, obviously, the Isur is mevatel by 60, like, with everything that's around it. Like,
Atzamot were not that obvious.
But it's an inclusive. Go ahead, Aaron. There.
Well, it also emphasizes the things that do not count, namely the Kedera. So rather than just saying also the Kedera doesn't count, everything else counts, we have to list for you all the things that do count, and then you'll find out later. That
and we'll find out later. Oh, right. Well, that's always the case. When you have a list, in other words, I think it's significant, but I'm not thinking that. In other words, whenever you have a list, yeah, so what's in, what's out. Okay. Beseder, no, I needed to process that. That's okay too. We're looking for 60. It's a handbook. There seems to be, right? Therefore, someone said the word kula. Well, that's the direction that we seem to be going in right now. That is the direction. How do we achieve that? How do we achieve that goal? Okay. And yes, we still cry out, why? But this seems to be the direction. So help me out. Go ahead, Alice, you're going to read the next part.
Sure. אבל המוח שבעצמות האיסור מצטרף עם האיסור לאסור.
Stop.
Okay. So the marrow which is in the bones, it adds up to the isur. Right? Obviously, it has taste. It's I mean, that's my reasoning now, but it seems to be obvious. It's something which has a strong taste. I assume.
Well, maybe that's the reason. Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe.
What could be another? That's good. What could be another reason?
Oh, it's edible as opposed to the bones. Yeah.
What?
I said it's edible as opposed to the bones that are not edible. Whatever element which is within that you could eat, so that it's mitzaref leisur.
Does it tell us what moach is? I mean, we know moach is marrow, but
well, all you know about marrow is that it's edible, right? Once you cook it, you could eat it.
How can
delicious.
you know about that as well? Yeah, and you get your little spoon and try to get it out of your bubby's soup. Okay, right? I got that. So is marrow bone or is marrow meat?
Well, clearly he's making a difference with it. It doesn't matter whether it's bones or meat. It's an element of the bone that's mitzaref leisur.
So you give an answer. You're saying it's an element of it doesn't matter. But therefore, by saying it doesn't matter, you're going me down on what you just said. It's the element of the bone. Or
it seems like it is actually meat. Meaning, what if I find something in the bone edible? I would say I would go even further to say that tachlis, even bones are meat. The only reason they aren't meat is because they're not edible. marrow is something like that.
All right.
That
All right.
But
That
if
helps.
marrow is meat, so what's the
Okay, all
chiddush
right,
of saying
Ruben.
that?
Right, Ruben. Okay. Got it. The Seder. Okay. So now what part of reasoning is this? These are the outlier, right? They gave everything in the pot. They gave bones. Now the outlier is the marrow. I still have some questions about the marrow. Is it is it bone or is it meat? And Raphael tells me, this is a difference from being in Merkaz. Merkaz, it's all Ruchnius. Now it's all Gashmius. It's all bone. Everything's meat. Okay. No. Is it bone or is it meat? That's really the question. Now, finish it up. Al.
וגוף הגדירה אינה מצטרפת לא עם ההתר ולא עם האיסור. Okay, so and the guf hagdera, the pot itself is not doesn't add up to the heter, like neither to this nor to that, not to isur. So guf hagdera, I understand like the volume of the gedera itself, maybe as
well, they
didn't
say the volume of the gedera. Partially, it's not the volume of the Kedera, I don't think, because it mentioned everything in the volume of the Kedera up till now. They have the whole contents of the Kedera.
Yeah.
No, what you're talking about is the Kedera.
The Kedera itself, right?
As you said, the Kedera itself.
Right.
Okay. Well, by the way, I have a question. Why isn't it the same halacha as a bone? If a bone is inedible, according to all of you. If you say a bone's no good because it's not Mitzareh, it can be mitzar. Oh, it can be mitzar. The bone can be mitzar because it's inedible, even if it's part of the Isur. Why not with the Kedera? Kedera is inedible. Two things are inedible.
I can't see faces here, but if I could jump in, maybe we're talking about this closed system of objects here, and maybe the criteria is not whether it's edible or inedible, but whether it's spongy. Right, if you were to drop a sponge into the Kedera,
I didn't hear. If it's what?
Spongy. If it is absorbent, if you drop a sponge into the Kedera, of course that's going to absorb the Isser, and you wouldn't use that to battle anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't have used that criterion if I hadn't learned the Nosei Kalen. And you learned the Nosei Kalen, but I think it's not a bad idea. But I'm just trying to keep away from that right now. I think it's a good idea. Okay, stopping this night now. We'll go to the Beis Yosef and let's see what we got. In the meantime, Yavdi, give us a rolling list. What criteria have we kind of talked about?
Criteria?
Or logical reasoning, whatever, however you want to do. You made a list of something. What did you make?
Common sense? Is that what you're?
Oh, okay, that's one.
Okay.
That's it.
Am I supposed to? And the other. I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Anybody else help me? All we did was a tour, guys. I'm not even sure the list. So it's a rambling list. Aaron, what do you got?
Permissive. Looking for 60.
Permissive, looking for 60.
Things that are in its general environment, other things sharing the pot with the Isser.
We're talking about the reasoning of a manual. And the reasoning of the manual here is you got a flat tire. How do you get back on the road? How do you get this pot to 60 so you can have the guests are coming over, right? That's important, right? So, okay, got that so far. Okay.
I would add,
you still got to write things down for me. Maybe somebody else as well, but write things down. Okay, good. Let's go to the Beis Yosef. Did I miss anything? Okay, now the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef. Okay, who's going to read now? Thank you, Halish. Okay, Raphael, you're going to read. Chatichat Ne'ela.
חתיכת נבלה שיש בה בשר ועצמות שנפלה לכדירה של היתר, יש אומרים שעצמות האיסור מצטרפן בבשר להצריך סמך כנגדוי.
And by the way, on that list, we have a Yesh Omrim floating around. You know, which means is it preferred or not preferred? It's got pride of place, but it's called the Yesh Omrim. Okay, I see what you say, Anthony, but you know, nonetheless, I like to keep it as a machlokas. Okay, Hachi.
הכי משמע בפרק גיד הנשה, גבי הדמייטה לשיעור האיסורים מזרוע בשלה מן העי, למאן דאמר שיעור האיסורים בסמך בעצמות האיסור מצטרפן לאיסור. בעצמות היתר מצטרפן ליתר. So basically what the Beis Yosef says, that this is Pshat Gemara. If we think
what's the Pshat of the Gemara? The Yesh Omrim, right?
Yeah, we think that the limud there in the Gemara about Bitul Besamech, if we learn it from Zohar B'Sheila, from the whole Korban there of the Nazir,
yeah.
So there the Zohar is counting its bones, because we actually have this. It's a counting of cooking the whole Zohar.
What kind of argument is this?
It is a lot like it is implicative.
It's what?
It's implicative, meaning he's.
Oh, please! It's a Jeraita. Gezerah Takatu.
Yeah, Gezerah Takatu. No, meaning.
Okay, right now it's Gezerah Takatu. Period. We haven't done anything else with it. It's Gezerah Takatu. We're coming in. That takes the Yesh Omrim, and what does it do to the Yesh Omrim? As a status. Oh, right? Yeah, Gezerah Takatu. Now, Katav Aran.
וכתב הר"ן בירושלים פרק כמה דעורלה, משמע דאף קילפי איסור מעלים את
Wait, what are you're doing, how are you pronouncing that?
קליפי.
Okay, klipe. And how are you translating it, and what are they?
Shells, like meaning like eggshells or shells of nuts that they don't have actually any taste. These still are part, or even shells of fruit, like I don't know how you say it in English, like the peel of a fruit.
Okay, the thin part of the peel of the fruit, right? The klipe, right? Even that, right?
klipe איסור מעלים את האיסור, ואף לפי הגמור דינן אפשר, ואף לפי הגמור דינן אי אפשר לא ימרחן, למאן דאמר בסמך. היינו תמה דלא מצטרפין עצמות שבזרוע להתיר, לפי שהן עצמן אסורים מפני מויח שבהם.
אוסרים.
כן, אוסרים מחמת מויח שבהם, מחמת רכותן שיוצא מהם לחות. אבל עצמות...
Okay, wait. Tell me what's happening now. Tell us all.
So he's basically saying that that even if we don't go that far to say like the Yerushalmi, that even klipei isur that are basically very dry, still mitztarfin leso. If we have a situation of actually of something lach, like atzamot that have some lachluchit or they have the marrow in them, even then you can say that it's not a chok that much. It's a.
So in other words,
wait,
what? Okay, who's talking?
I think in the Yerushalmi it's like we conclude not the Yesh Omrim. The Yerushalmi says like that the klipei isur, afilu klipei isur ma'alin et ha'isur, meaning they help to battle it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
so that means
what the Ran is trying to do is trying to explain why this seems to be in contradiction with the pshat of the Bavli.
Right. It's also interesting because this is a scenario where like more often we use like the Bavli to better understand the Yerushalmi, but here like we end up allowing the Yerushalmi to inform our understanding of how we relate to the Zroa case, which is not like a normal relationship between the two.
Standing right now, where are we? Right now, where are we? Rafael, did you pick up what you have said?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so where are we standing right now?
We have like a basic kasha on how we came to understand the Bavli, and then the Ran gives a teirutz that the teirutz is basically that we're not speaking actually about isur yavesh lagamre, like dry bones of an isur. We're speaking about bones that have some type of lachluchit. So you don't have a contradiction between the Bavli and Yerushalmi. You can go back to the standpoint that actually bones are d'oraita.
Bones are d'oraita. What?
Yeah.
Because to tell us what? Is it tell us the same thing? Tell us what?
because you
Tell
have
us
this
60. Okay, tell us
because
60.
because of Sheila, because of the limud on Bitul b'shishi.
Okay. About Somos Yavashim. Wait. You have what do you got, Yavni?
It's a somewhat bizarre argument because the way we concluded that that the bones should be counted with the isul from the
Right.
from the Bavli is the fact that we chose 60 as opposed to 100, right? Is based on this calculation that 60 that like with the bones it's 1 in 60 and without the bones it's 1 in 100. So like that calculation should, like, I don't know why that's dependent on the bones being moist or the bones being like, it's not a real situation. I don't know. It seems odd.
When
Like,
you say it's Kazeris Lakosov, it's not a real situation. In other words, the pasuk goes there. No, I got what you said. That's good. Pasuk goes. So therefore, according to that, what's he saying here? This is worthwhile. We're not being, even though I said, we're not being pedantic here. Well, if he says, Hainu Taima Delomi Starfim at Samot Shebizroa Leheter, Lafi Shehain Atzman Osri, Bibnei Moach Shebehem Umachmas Rachutam Sheyatsu Mehem Lachut. So we got a problem. In other words, we have got a sense, right? So that's the problem. And but the reason is, so where we go to solve the problem, the contradiction, it's kind of like a funny answer. And the funny answer comes now. Aval, Raphael, Aval Atzamos Yaveshim.
Just a second. אבל עצמות יבשים וקליפים שאינם אסורים,
Osrin.
אפשר...
Sheinam Osrin.
שאינם אוסרים. In my printing it's אסורים.
Okay, fine.
אפשר שאף אותן של איסו מעלין את ההיתר.
Okay.
אבל...
Dalton shel Iser Malin at the head. What kind of answer is this? That's a strange answer. Well, we find a kind of bones that would work for our situation, but which is Yavesh. But the problem with that is, what does it have to do with the pasuk? I mean, we're not talking about an old, an old aisle. We're talking about you hear the problem? I mean, how does that? We're learning 60, 1 in 60 from Zroa B'Shela, and they say, well, regarding bones, dry bones would be okay, but what does that got to do with the way we learned it? You're going to answer me, Ruben?
Sorry, just wanted to make sure I understand. So dry bones don't work with the Yeshomrim. The only thing that worked with the
Well,
Yeshomrim
dry
is...
bones work, except it work perfectly with the Yeshomrim. Dry bones that don't have moach, they don't have anything. They work
Right.
perfectly with the Yeshomrim. They don't work perfectly with Sadi Chetom and Bet. That tells you the Zroa B'Shela is the source.
No, the mitzarfim leter to so the way I understood it is that the bones start to have like marrow coming out of it and have like white things coming out of it. That's only mitzarf leisur. But dry bones, they're mitzarf leter to mivatal leisur. That's how I understood that. Just because the Haggadah Be'arot says that imaleter dainu shemitzarfim leter le'alot et ha'isur.
We were banking on we were hoping to get a derisa out of Zroa B'Shela. And that would be the force of using bones. Right. And so they counter here in terms of conversation, in terms of reasoning, they counter with the Metzius problem. The Metzius. The problem with the Metzius is the bones have lachut. The bones have marrow. The bones have meatiness. I won't say meat. I'll say meat. The bones have meatiness. And then they say, oh, well, but there are bones that work, and those are the bones that are yavesh. Those bones, and we agree that works. But what does that do with our original source? So I like to say right now is they're ignoring that problem. They're ignoring that problem, but eventually they're going to get rid of the Zroa B'Shela as being the source because it violates the Metzias situation. It's such a perfect Dioraisa, all Dioraisas are perfect, but it's such a perfect Dioraisa proof because here you get 60 and it works so well. That's not just a proof, excuse me, one word. It seems to be the source. But the source is fresh bones. And fresh bones have lachut. And lachut have tam. Not to even mention the marrow in the bones, which are meaty. They're ignoring that problem to hold on to the fact of explaining the Torah that you can use bones, but which bones can you use at this point? Seemingly, bones that are yavesh. That's what it seems to say. When you have so many things going on at one time, you're bound to have a problem with one part of the argument. They're having a problem with the Dioraita Gezeret HaKatuv part of the argument, but they want to preserve the Torah statement that you can use bones of Isur to make up the heter. Beis Yosef is arguing for that. He's supporting the Torah, even though, I'm just going to repeat it, even though it's going to give him a problem, give us all a problem on the Deraisa source of Shishim. Deraisa source of Shishim is Zroa B'Shela, is an ayah. Those bones are pretty wet. Those bones have tam. How does that become our source? But they're not asking that right now. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. If you saw it, then I think we'll see it. Now it crushes down. Even though at this point, in the Beis Yosef, the Torah is vindicated. We can use bones of Isur. The Torah is vindicated right now. He has to jettison something with the Deraisa Gezeret HaKatuv, but it's done. But now, a crusher. So, Raphael, aval. But please give emphasis on the word aval.
אבל אין דאס הרמב"ן, כן. עד כאן לשון. He's ending the quote from the Ram.
And we don't know why. We'll get back to the Ramban.
ורבנו שמשון בפרק ה' במסכת תרומות הביא דברי הירושלמי וכתב יש לחלק בין עצמות לקליפה, יש בעצמות לחות יותר ממה שיש בקליפה. ואחר כך כתב דלא מסתברא כלל. דהגיד אנשה למאן דאמר אין בגיד אם לא ייתן טעם אם נתבע שלמרק מותר ומי עדיף מעצמות יותר מגיד. Meaning gidim that we have the klal that ain't begidim noisem tam klal, and you actually can cook them.
And as I don't know if we got to it in the summer learning, but you got into the summer learning. But that's hard enough to understand because if they ain't beginning noisem tam, what's the whole problem? That's its own thing. But we have the klal nonetheless, and that klal is not shaken. Ain't beginning noisem tam, and what's he saying? And Gi, what does Gi tell us about atzamos?
It's a kal v'chomer because gidim are if gidim that are more moist and more soft in their nature don't have any type of noise and tam. How can you say that atzamot even if they have lachluchit? Okay.
How much more so? Don't check. How much more so? Keep it as a kal v'chomer. How much more so?
How much more so? Could you say about atzamot? Even if they have lachuluchit, they're tasteless. They don't have. You can't say that. And tam.
Okay, stop. We preserved bones. We preserved the Torah. We don't know why the Ramban's upset, but we have a feeling why we know he's upset. Now the Beis Yosef says, "Let's go into reality." Lakach. Nira, and say it in a world-weary voice.
Oh,
we heard all these shitas. Kach Nira, what can I tell you? Lakach Nira.
Lakach Nira. דעה דיאליף מזרוע בשלה ומשעה בעצמות, סימן בעלמא הוא דאסמכתא כדאמרין בשמייתא דמין במינו מדאורייתא בטיל. Meaning, we have to deduce from all we just said that tachlis the whole limud from Zohar B'Sheila is an asmachta. The shiur pre-exists the limud.
That's right. Well, not here, because we're still talking about min b'mino. So since we're talking about min b'mino, we already have a heter. The heter is achrei rabim lahatos. We already have a rove. And the shishim is a what? It's a chazal. And it's asmachta. And how good is this? These are why asmachtas drive us crazy. Because it sounds like a deraisa. But it ain't. So wait. Yavni, you're going to talk about Gid. What are you going to talk about?
Yeah, I just want to point out that this is still within the Rabbeinu Shimshon. This is not the Beit Yosef talking.
You tell me Lakach near is Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Yeah, it's all within Rabbeinu Shimshon's commentary on the Mishnah up until Batil, Beruva Batil.
I mean, is that literally the case?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't argue against that.
Rick,
Okay.
you see the Adkan Lashona before the Bedek Habayit.
Yeah, right. Okay. It's good to look things up. Thank you so much. Okay. I would have given Falsha Torah. But nonetheless, I'm recovering.
It's more a tzitut of the
I'm
Rosh
recovering. My recovery, Rabbeinu Shimshon sounds pretty good. He sounds pretty good. And so what Rabbeinu Shimshon does to us, so Rabbeinu Shimshon now has destroyed the common sense approach, common sense opinion, the Yesh Omrim. And it's a Siman. It's very nice. It works very well. It's something that is very good for your Bechina and your Erdea, because you always will remember that, unless you forget that it's only a Simana, right? But it works very well. It works extremely well. The Kotav. Now, who's speaking now? Let's see. It's still Rabbeinu Shimshon.
It's not Rabbeinu Shimshon, meaning the Bet Yosef quoted Rabbeinu Shimshon being quoted by the Rosh, meaning the whole.
Right. Got it.
Well,
got it.
No, like it's
No.
actually his quotes, and then the Katav Devarav Harosh is the Beit Yosef saying the Rosh copied the same thing that I just copied.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go on. So this is, by the way, why is this here? This is here. Well, they always do this, I know, but this is here to mitigate the disappointment we have and to make sure you understand. Rush, for the Rushes, was final psak for a while. It was final psak, and that's because of a rush, and that's it. Give up your Gezer Sakasiv. Because of the Rav Rush, go ahead, Derek Gideon.
because of the Rav Rosh בפרק גידנוש, וכן פירש הרש פה ז"ל בתור הסבייס, דעצמות של איסור מצטרפין עם האיתר. ואין צריך לומר שעצמות האיתר מצטרפין עם האיתר.
העצמות של איסור מצטרפות עם האיתר. What is it? Wait, he's quoting there. Tell me what that means. The asma shel iser can be mitzarek with the heter. We're preserving the Torah's psak. The Torah. But later, what to us we've learned it from the Torah, showing earlier. Now
ואין צריך לומר עצמות של היתר מצטרפים מהיתר. This learning, the basic logic behind it is עצמות. They're neutral, and if they're neutral, of course they join with the heter side in heter.
Who's supreme right now? Who's our man?
What do you mean?
Or woman, sorry. Who's our person? The Yesh Omrim. It's very important. The Yesh Omrim.
Wait.
No, not the Yesh Omrim.
No, the other.
I mean the Rush.
Not the Yesh Omrim, Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Rabbeinu Shimshon. Excuse me. Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Rav Landes, can I just?
But tell me again what Rabbeinu Shimshon says. Yavni, what does Rabbeinu Shimshon says?
that the bones of the Isul join the Heter to cancel
And
the Isul.
therefore, now categorize his opinion against in terms of spectrum. If the Yeshomrim was a common sense approach, what is Rabbeinu Shimshon's? How would you put it out there as a halachic pronouncement?
Makil? Is that what you're looking for? Or
Okay, or expansive, right? I mean,
Yeah.
expansive makeup. Not only, right? Not only can they be on the side of what? Isur, but they could also it's not Shmekel.
not only
It's
they're
not
not on the side of
expansive. Not
Isul, they're
expansive
even on the
at
side
all.
of Heter.
It's Mekel, right? Will Rabbeinu Shimshon be the most Mekel? I like a better term, but it will use that. The most Mekel position that we're going to find is my question. Let's see. In other words, the word I should have said is on the map. Where would you put Rabbeinu Shimshon? You'd put the Yeshomrim in the middle, and you'd put not Rabbeinu. You put the Yeshomrim in the middle, and you put Rabbeinu Shimshon to the left, the Mekel position, right? Okay.
No, the Yesh Omrim would be the furthest. Is the most machmir.
Right
The-
now.
I mean, no, Stam. It's the most machmir because the only other one
I
that
haven't seen any other
Isur bones
opinion.
don't add to either, right? But the Yesh Omrim is the only one that thinks Isur bones add to the Isur amount.
I think Rabbeinu Yerucham is more.
Aaron, what are you going to say? Thank you, Lexi. Aaron, you had something? No, you had nothing? Now it becomes important now. When we come. Go ahead. Who's reading? Rafael. Mikam.
ומכל מקום עצמות שיש בהם מויח, המויח שבעצמות של איסור, או איסור מצטרף עם האיסור, עד כאן לשונו. Meaning he's simply like doing your classical Rabbeinu Shimshon. Meaning it's a middle ground. We're not actually saying that bones are asur, but we're not saying that bones are mutar. We're saying that specific types of bones that have lachluchit, or let's say irregular types of bones that have lachluchit, and they have moach, they are also mitam lachluchit.
Well, okay.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
The important criterion becomes right here, becomes moach or no moach. He doesn't say lach or anything like that. Well, right now, he's saying the word moach. That becomes, and umikomakon, nonetheless, linguistically means, well, there is an exception. It's a large exception, but it's an exception. In other words, Rabbeinu Shimshon is still saying what he's saying, but we have through the Beis Yosef on that position, tell me if I'm right or wrong, on that position, we have the fact that, there is an exception. It might be a large exception, it depends on the situation, and that's the moach. But it's not just the moach, it's atzamos sheyesh b'hem moach.
But is it the moach in them only, or also the bone? I think he's only talking about the moach in them.
Yeah.
I say atzamos, the first word, however.
Yeah, it's almost just moach.
Atzamos.
Moach, ba'atzamot.
Moach shebe'atzamot shel iser oser. In other words, the bones, the moach in them counts as iser, but the bone themselves doesn't.
But I think Lamaisa, that would end up meaning counting the bones. I mean, I'm, as a vegetarian, not so expert in how you deal with marrow, but I'm assuming that it's actually, there's not an easy way of measuring the volume of the marrow separate from the bones. And so if you don't have an easy way of doing that, then you would have to just measure the full bone.
Is there an easy way of measuring any of this?
I mean, okay, no, but
that's not what he's saying. He's saying whether or not this halacha is practical, he's saying count only the bone, only the marrow.
I like what you said, okay? I think you're right, but not 100%. In other words, I think we're reading it right now, the way you're saying it. We're reading it properly.
But
yeah, go ahead. Who's speaking?
The Beis Yosef is implying that I don't know if that's the correct reading on the Rashba, but the Beis Yosef is implying that Dasa Rashba is that the marrow makes the bone itself asur. Either if we cook it together, so it belea it, and it's quite logical to say so, or like the classical understanding on Rabbeinu Shimshon, that bones that have marrow, meaning bones that are not dried, they have this lachluchi. They're like complete. They're wet. They're basically Isser bones. They're meaty. I don't know what wording to use here, but
okay. Got you. I got you. All right. I'm getting hungry. I got you. Okay.
Sorry,
So,
how do you read that in the Bet Yosef? Because I'm kind of confused with the reading. The way
the Rebdachim reason, at Samos sheish behem moach.
Right.
That's the case. What do you do with that Samos? Do it like a question mark. He doesn't do that. I'm reading like Nachum's reading it and even improving to make his case. When we come at Samos sheish behem moach, what do we do with that? Right, Nachum? HaMoach about Samos shall Isur Oser umitzaref im ha'Isur. And if you read it that way, did you hear me, Nachum? You agree with how I read what you want to say?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to say.
Okay, fine, good. Now let's get to the Bet HaKabayit.
Sorry, so just if I get it correctly, just the Moach Be'atzamot is Mr.
Okay, yes.
But the Atzamot Isur,
that reasoning,
I'm later.
Sure, he's right. 2%. Okay. And Bet HaKabayit, go on. Go on with 12.
פרק הבייס, כוס אב רבינו ירוחם בשם הרב רבינו אברהם בן ישמעאל. מסתבר כי אמרינן שעצמות ההיתר מצטרפין דווקא מין במינוי דמן התוירו בטל ברוב. ומין בשאינו מינו ובדקנו ואינו נותן טעם. אבל מין בשאינו מינוי דאיסורו וליקה כפילה, אפילו עצמות ההיתר אין מעלין דאייב טעמה. עד כאן לשונו, ואין יראה כן מדברי רבינו שמשון והראש.
Fine.
Meaning we have here a completely different logic that says that atzamot do give time, like mamish 180 degrees from what we said from what Rabbeinu Shimshon
said. He throws it out. Okay. We're going to do parts of the Bach.
Rav Landes, this is also per the scale we were using. This is to the right of the Yesh Omrim, right? Because this here, it's the Atzamot Heter they're not mitzaref with the Heter even, right? In this case.
Right.
So this is,
but we didn't give a line.
as to whether
Atzamos of Heter. Lexi, just one second. The Atzamos of Heter don't, let's just say it again. According to the Shita we throw out, the Atzamos of Heter don't mitzaref with the Heter because why? Joe.
They're a neutral thing, essentially, is what he's making the claim, right? So they don't help with the flavor fight and they don't hurt with the flavor fight. The permitted ones, they're just there. They're just like the Kedera.
Very
really
problematic. They still have bulk. I don't see why not. Lexi, what do you got?
I was going to say that my reading of Rabbeinu Yerucham is that he ends up being like one of the opinions in the Bavli that you don't count the bones to either direction, which means that it's not inherently more or less machmir than the Yesh Omrim, right? The Yesh Omrim is you count the bones to both, and I'm reading Rabbeinu Yerucham as you don't count the bones to either. But it is like, it doesn't say, he doesn't explicitly say in the quotes that we get here what you do with the Isser bones. So it's possible to read that he thinks those are also mitzdaref to the Isser.
I don't think so, just because it says he then would have written Dechi Amrin and Shatzamot Mitzdarfim, right? Instead he says Dechi Amrin and Shatzamot Heter Mitzdarfim.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I think it's just, I think he just believes that they don't mitzdaref stam.
I think then he would have left out the word Heter, right? That's all
right, we'll leave that as a machlokes. We're before the couple minutes before a break. Let's go to the Beis Chodesh, the Bach, and who's going to read now? Okay, Aaron, can you read the Bach? Start the Bach. Chatichas nevela sheish bo bas v'atzomos.
Rav Landes, did you say my name or somebody else's name I missed?
Your name.
Chatichas naset nevela. Chatichas nevela sheyesh bo basar v'atzomot. Dada yesh omrim. Dahachi mashma beperik yida nasher. De'alfina mizra b'shela. De'ika b'basar v'atzomot b'zra echad mishishim. B'basar v'atzomot. Sheba'ayal kedeprishi b'reish Siman tzadichet.
Everything we said so far. Okay. And it seems Gemara goes like it. It seems to be Diraisa. World is beautiful. Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Rabbeinu Shimshon nismach al Yerushalmi per kama de orla.
Wait. And so the Yerushalmi now is getting, Lexi was pointing out, is getting precedence here. We're favoring the Yerushalmi. He's giving a light to us, yeah. Kamrinan, Daf.
Kamrinan Daf klipe Isur ma'alina to Isur. The Talmud Adidan lo naka dzra b'sheila ela simana ba'alma de'asmach dehi.
Okay, we saw this. Baharan Katav.
Aran katav de Yerushalmi ma'ir ba'atzmot v'klipot yavashim v'Talmud Adidan ayir ba'atzmot lahalachin. Uve'isur v'heta aruch katav.
And by the way, and we basically had this in the Beis Yosef, correct?
Yeah.
This answer? Yeah. Except a good retelling, he says it very nicely here. The Metzias is different in both cases, that's all. Yerushalmi's talking about what? Yerushalmi talks about Yevashim, and our Gemara is talking about Lachim. Okay, fine. Ube'isur v'heter aruch, go ahead.
Isur v'heta aruch katav dada yesh omrim al shem ha'or zarua. V'katav afal gav da'atzmot yevashim einam bar achila. Mikom makom habishul motzi mehem lach luchit v'ta'am alkach.
Ooh. So wait, what happens now? We had that thing. We had that canard against bones, right? Bones have nothing, right? Bones have no, they're not bar yachila, right? But there's bishul. And the bishul does what? The lach luchit, and therefore what does that do? Why is that here? Bringing that or Zarua. What does it do to our problem? No, what does it do?
Well,
okay, Aaron, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were asking me, but it seems to muddy the question of what a dry bone is, because we're now talking about dry bones that have been cooked, which is what previously we were calling wet bones.
No, previously we were calling wet bones marrowy bones.
I would say that they have a question on that. This is like a good question. What do you need to have a bone that's a bar achila? What do you need when it's not a bar achila? Certainly a dry bone, which means the marrow's dried up and is uncooked. Well, at that point, at least, it has, at that point, we would have expected to say that it's yavesh. But then there's no lachuchi. But now we say, according to the, based on the Or Zarua, right, that once you cook it, you get bone soup. And therefore, that's something you can, so what does that do to our discussion? So we don't get lost. Joel, what does that do to our discussion?
It gives us an argument. Sorry.
Go ahead, Yafi, please.
It gives us an argument for the Yesh Omrim against the other opinion.
How does it do that? Do it. The argument is
that Atzamot should count as Isul.
Should count as Isur, right? Would bring us back. Anybody want to disagree with that? I think that's pretty good. So let's go on. Mihu, Aaron.
Bahagad Sharidora, Siman Mem, Siman and Hey. Katav al Shem ha'or zarua, b'signon acher, v'zel ha'shana. Atzamot shel Isur einan mitzarfot le'Isur. Aval atzamot shel heter mitzarfot le'heter. Aval ein letzaref atzamot shel Isur ima heter levatal le'Isur. Im shum adam yatirze.
No. Stop there. This is a shocking statement. It will be less shocking in a moment. But what's he saying? First of all, he's signum acher, which means we're getting rid of that question. We're getting rid of that problem. What is he saying now?
The Haggahat Shoridora has a different reading or different quote from what seems to be in the opposite position from the Orza Rub. Where the Orza Rub
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, a third position. Where the bones of the Isser don't meet Starif at all, but the bones of the Heter meet Starif to the Heter.
The Atzamos Shel Heter, I'm sorry. The Atzamos Shel Isur, why aren't they Mitzaref to the Isur?
They're not
Why
meet
not?
Starif to anything, but he doesn't say why.
And the Im, go on.
Im Shum Adam Yatir, ze lo aval al divrei chachamim, aval ein nachon latir kulei hai, or is a rub beperek batra devot azara ad kal.
Ooh, so the real halacha is what? The Ikar Hadin, as we say. What's the Ikar Hadin? Meaning the way it is in reality.
Make mess.
Aaron, what do you got?
Rabbeinu Shimshon. Just we shouldn't tell people that.
The real, okay, good. And what did Rabbeinu Shimshon say? I always like the repetition. What did Rabbeinu Shimshon say?
Everything is mitzdaref to the heter. The bones of the Isser and the bones of the heter mitzdaref to the heter, but we're just not going to tell people that, and they shouldn't count the bones of the Isser.
Right. And we don't tell people that. Why?
Is it make a mistake?
Ein nachol lahatir koli hai.
Seems very makel.
So, public policy, as I like to say generally, that becomes the policy, but it seems even more than a policy. Ein lahatir kuli hai. Ein nachon lahatir atzamos shel isur, or I'll just say that shell. Atzamos isur kuli hai. What's left? What's left of the Easter, if you go like Rabbeinu Shimshon, what's possibly left of the Easter of Atzamos Easter, if you go like Rabbeinu Shimshon, in which they're bones, they're just bones. Of course you can add them. So what's left to an Easter? I answer, if that now becomes a rhetorical question, the shame. Atzamos Isur is Atzamos Isur. You're going to tell me what it means. Atzamos found within the Isur. I understand. But they're still referred to as Atzamos Isur. They have a shame of Isur. Ein lahatir Atzamos Isur kuli hai. So far. I like Rabbeinu Shimshon, so I have to, well, I'm yelling all the time. But I have to yell to give the other shot. I think that's what it is. They're going on the shame. Ain't hot here. Atzamos Isur kuli hai, because they're still Atzamos Isur. However, if a good Jew makes bone soup with etc., with all the problems that are there, because what we set up here, don't bother that good Jew, because actually that good Jew is following the correct shita of Rabbeinu Shimshon. So also the public policy issue. Well, if he's that, go on. Im naflu.
Lefize im naflu atzamot shel isur below basar nevela letoch kadera shel heter ein tzarich shishim levatlan.
Because
they don't count for anything.
They don't count. Varav Rabbeinu Yerucham. I told you there's another Rabbeinu coming up. Okay. Yeah.
Katav Svar Revi'it Al Shem Harav Avraham Ben Ismail. Dafilu Atzamot HaHeter Ein L'Tzaref LaHeter Ela B'min B'mino V'lo B'min Shebe'ein Amino.
Let's see. Maybe this is the greatest Isur. No, Dafilu Atzamot HaHeter Ein L'Tzaref LaHeter.
Inside the Shirat HaYam probably thinks that he believes that the Atzamot Isur are mitzdaref to the Isur. But the reason it would said the reason to respond to Joel's point that it says Dafka Atzamot HaHeter, so it's saying Afilu Atzamot HaHeter lo mitzdarfin leheter, right? It's like obviously he doesn't say the Atzamot HaIsur are mitzdaref to the heter, but even the Atzamot HaHeter aren't mitzdaref lehatir. right? But that makes sense for him to be dafka about atzamot heter in that language, even if he thought that atzamot ha'isor aren't mitzaref lasor.
5-minute break. Big black letters, V'yesh lahakshot, Siman Tzaditet, right? An Aleph. V'yesh lahakshot. We got a question. Lidi don de kaimalon Rabbeinu Tam. V'ri. Okay, here's another criterion that's important. The b'chol shar isurim amrinim chanan. Chanan is a universal category. Rabbeinu Tam and the Ri say chanan. It all becomes chati. The whole chaticha is a nevela, right? Im kain. If you say that like those two guys, two good atzomos ha'Easter, but you connect another idea. Shehem divukim b'basar. There's if the Easter davuk is the whole concept and how often you're going to get to it. But this amount is you have an Easter there, and it's davuk to the basar, right? I'm sorry, let's try this again. The atzamos, the atzamos are davuk to the Easter of the basar. The basar is usher, and the atzamos is davuk. Now, what I'll say one thing about Easter davuk. You get it to in Chulin Kuftet, I think, Kuftet from it out, that Easter davuk is an intensified form of Isur that's compared in Rashi there in Kuftet, thinking, is compared to when chalav falls on a piece of meat and you're not near the pot. The chalav in that piece of meat is very intense, and that piece of meat becomes really awesome. In comparison, he makes halacha comparison. This bone that's stuck into treif, stuck into Isur, excuse me, wrong term, that's stuck into Isur, it becomes extraordinarily non-kosher, and you can't get rid of it, even if you have shishim against the whole thing. In Isur davuk, don't we have a case here of Isur davuk here? And therefore, look what it says here. Im kain, atzamos ha'Isur, shehem devukim bebasar, the basar which is usher, kibu techila tama Isur. But you can say, what about the 60 that you have in the pot? Yeah, but with an Isur davuk, the first shaft of Isur goes into the bone. That's where it goes. Kiblu techila tama Isur mebasar nevela. Kodem sheni pashet, before it's distributed L'shar chatichot, distributed to all the other chatichot. And if there's 60 to 1, you're in great shape. Or 61 to 1, you're in great shape. But this comes first. L'shar chatichot heter shebekadera, kedin kol shar isur, like in the case of that. But kedin kol shar isur hadavuk. And an Isra, therefore, remains doesn't remain Osir. In other words, from our twin concepts, which you're going to get into more, we did some Hanan, and now you heard Isra Davuk. But doesn't the Isra Davuk lead us into Hanan? And Hanan is irreparable. Everything else become kosher, but this is irreparable. What do you do about that? So I'm going to skip now to further in my edition, which is the Shirat Devora edition, goes to the next Amud in the Bach. Let me see where he gives the answer, and certainly certainly for Rabbeinu Ephraim, just as Rabbeinu Ephraim, who says that Hanan is only by Basar B'Chalav, there's not a real problem. But for Rabbeinu Tam and the Reed, there's a real problem. And I looking for from the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines, 9 lines. Ba'afal pi sha'atzamot devukim b'basar. Joel found it. Aaron found it. Reuben, go find it now. Come on, find it. Look. Ba'afal pi, if you're looking in some sort of ba'afal pi. Now I lost it. Ba'afal pi, probably in contraction. Ba'afal pi sha'atzamot devukim b'basar. The Basar Nevela. He's repeating the problem. Yavni, you found it? You found it. Search, you will find. Okay, Ilana, you don't have it yet, do you? Yeah. I'll read it and you will hear it, and you'll have to find it later. Whoever doesn't have it, I'm sorry. So listen to me. And he's just repeating what in a sense, the question. Even though the atzamos are, how can you get something more non-kosher than that? Excuse my expression. The kibul techila tama basar, and it gets unmitigated tama basar directly. Afil hachi. Why is it not considered a proud? Ein gufa etzem shachashuv ke'et ne'esar. It's still only a bone. That's all it is, a bone. And a bone, don't you say anything, Yavni, about marrow. A bone, forget the marrow. A bone is ke'et, right? Gufa etzem shachashuv ke'et. Ein gufa etzem, that which is the bone. Shachashuv ke'et nesar. So therefore, we got rid of that. But they had to get rid. Why am I even bringing it up? Because you're going to see Isur Davu come up a lot. You're going to see Chaticha Nasa Nevela, Kashitas, the Rabbeinu Tam and the Re. That it's everywhere, and this would have been a big problem. No, we're going to say no because it's what? It's K8. What do you mean by K8? It's just like the Gita Nasha. It's K8. Or another word you use, inedible. That's nothing. It's worse than inedible. Meaning it's not, what was the term used earlier? It's not by Alan. Alan used the term. You still there, Alan?
It's not spongy. Karka olam dam.
That's what I want. Now, let's go down to the bottom of this whole thing of the Bach, where it says, it should be in block letters, Le'inyan halacha. Let's go for the psak. Le'inyan halacha. Okay, Ruben, you read. Indian halacha.
ולעניין הלכה הנה, מעריב הגת שערי דורה סימן
And who's
סימן
that?
כ"ה.
Ari. Yisrael Israelin, Trumat Adeshin, the greatest Meishiv in the early, well, a lot of, one of the greatest Meishiv in the early Rishonim period, right? Shari Dura.
Early
Those
Achronim.
Shari Dura go on. Kotav,
sorry. כתב כהראש, אבל באיסור והיתר הערוך כלל כ"ח, כתב כסברת יש אומרים על שם
wait.
הרב.
What was the psak of the Rush?
Well,
Who remembers
the Rush said like the Rush was basically Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Okay, got it. Rush is like Rabbeinu Shimshon, right? But nonetheless, we have a problem because Easter Vaheter. Who wrote the Sefer Easter Vaheter? Joel?
It's Israel's son, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. Go on. Yesh Omrim.
כלל כ"ח כתב כסברת יש אומרים על שם האור זרוע.
Keshavet Yesh Omrim, the common sense approach. Al Shem.
האור זרוע. So
okay. And then we go on. Pasak. The Hachi Nahaginan. Go ahead. The Hachi Nahaginan.
והכי נהגינן לבטלם, והרב מהרש לוריה.
Shlomo Luria. Shlomo Luria, right? The Marshal. Great, right? Pasak.
Sorry, 1 second. פסק כהגעת שערי דורה על שם האור זרוע, שאין להקל כולי היי לצרף העצמות האיסור עם היתר, אבל עם היתר לא...
right. In other words, yes, the psak halacha should be like Rabbeinu Shimshon. Like the Rush, like Rabbeinu Shimshon. But what? As we saw, Eiletz, Ima Heter, Kuli high, you're going too far. Aval?
אבל אם התיר לא עבר על דברי חכמים. But if it permitted it, it's not that bad. It wasn't over על דברי חכמים.
In other words, it's not that bad. It's Iker did it's right.
לפי עניות דעתי, יש להחמיר בעצמות הרכים של איסור לצרפן עם האיסור. That we have to be more machmir in wild bones of isur to add them to the isur.
And what kind of logic? What's this? What kind of statement is this? I have to improve my language. It's not exactly logic I'm asking. What kind of statement is this?
Well, that's a statement of being machmir. It's saying like
it's a statement.
That we should be more machmir.
But it's limiting the chumrah
to a specific case, as opposed to like a more general case.
To atzamos harachim, to tender bones. Tender mercies, tender bones, that's all they
and so it says in the Hagarat Shari Dora in Siman Mem, וזה לשונו. ואם נתבשל עצם תחילה, ואם נתבשל עצם בחלב או עצם של טרפה, בתבשיל בשר ובבשר, נראה אם נתייבש העצם, הווה כעץ בעלמא, ואם יש בו לחלוכית, אז צריך שמח כנגדו. וכך נראה עיקר.
So this is a psak. How does it look like he paskins like? He says there's two shitas, but it looks like what? In terms of the Bach. How's the Bach, you think, paskin? He paskins about which way?
Well, it seems to be machmir like the Chumrah.
Yeah, in that case. In that situation. But general psak is like what?
It's posek like the Via Shlomar earlier, the thing that we saw earlier.
I think it's Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Right.
I think it's Rabbeinu Shimshon. That's how he's passing. He gives that opinion, then he said, but this, that. And I think he could pass like Rabbeinu Shimshon, and therefore that gives him the power to I pass him like Rabbeinu Shimshon. And yes, we shouldn't go fully high. Maybe Landes is right. It's a problem of the shame. This kuli high means the shame isur. It's the shame isur. So you shouldn't go there kuli high. That's public policy. It has to do with the shame. If you did it, it's okay. If you did, of course, it's okay, because the Ikar did. The Ikar did is like Rabbeinu Shimshon. Public policy is like what we said. What we said earlier. that it should be that you shouldn't you shouldn't do it. You should, and if you did it, you're okay. And so therefore we have the outlier situation. And the outlier situation is Atzamos Harachim, and he doesn't even say Atzamos Yeshba. It's interesting. He doesn't. Therefore, he doesn't say. Aaron, what do you
The
got?
assumption is that if there's lachluchit, then if there is marrow, then they're lachluchit, right?
I think that could very well be the case. Yes. What do you have, Aaron?
It seems like he thinks the Ikar Adin might be the Hasagat Shari Dora in the name of the Ozarua, that if they're Yevashim or Yevashot, that they just don't meet star.
Yeah, right.
Not that like Rabbeinu Shimshon that they would meet
No,
star.
not like Rabbeinu Shimshon. Wait. So say the whole thing now.
Though as the Shir Hayam, I think disagrees with what I'm about to say, so I'll say it with a big asterisk. But it seems like the Bach is saying when the Atzamot are Rachim, Rachot, that is their fix. But when they are Yeveshot, Yeveshim, they're not mitzarfim at all, as opposed to saying that he thinks that if they're Yeveshim, that we would default to Rabbeinu Shimshon, that they would be being starved to the heter.
Well, no, but I think actually, I think that is what we were saying earlier, that the Hagahot Shari Dora comment about like if people are doing this, you don't need to lo avar al divrei chachamim, is them saying that like our principle should be
along the same line. The way I read it is like it says v'yesh lachmir. Right, so it's like he's posik like Rabbeinu Shimshon, but he's saying v'yesh la'achmir, like as a matter of public policy, like you should be more machmir. But the Meikar Adin is posik like Rabbeinu Shimshon.
Well, I mean, he's not really poskening Rabbeinu Shimshon, because poskening is what you think should be like kind of.
I'm saying Meikar Adin is like you hold like Rabbeinu Shimshon, but it's a v'yesh la'achmir.
We have.
But the Yesh Lachmir is not the Yesh Lachmir is specifically with.
Right. The Yesh Lachmir is too mild for how his normative position is that you say the Atzmot HaYisor in Mitzarfin. Right? You can say that the Iker Hadin is like Rabbi Shimshon, which is that if people are Mitzaref Atzmot Yisor Lahatir, he's like, oh, they're not doing something wrong. But it's not like a Yesh Lachmir. He does think the normative thing for Atzmot Yiveshim is that you shouldn't be counting them towards anything. And that the Rachin, you should be counting La'asur.
But also in his psak, when he goes back to the Shari Dora in his psak, he doesn't go back to the thing the Shari Dora says about what the Ikar Adin is. So it's not clear that he agrees.
Right before the.
I would say
No.
we have a text. We have the Torah, and we have the Torah, and the Torah is a book that has a lot of things. But one of the things that it has, I mean, the Torah with the Nosei Kalim. First of all, it's I have a note to myself, which I should say now. Okay, the note to myself says, please mention that they don't take the Torah as a final authority, and that their purpose is to be mafarish the Torah. Just saying. Shulchan Aruch might be different in some cases, but they take the Torah as a jumping off place to discuss what the halacha should be. And that, when I say should be, it has different parts. What the halacha, my terminology, what the halacha is, but we normally say the term Ikar Hadin. They don't use that term here. But they Ikar Hadin, fine. But it's also a handbook. And therefore, it's important to say, first of all, what you should do. And therefore, when they talk about the Torah and they argue with the Torah, or they use it as a jumping off place, they often say, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, if you did it, okay. And why? Because, and you have to go back and say, because Meikar Adin, it's okay. And so, and why the other thing? So you have, now what you don't have here in terms of, the reason why I gave this whole thing that I pushed about public policy, Kuli High. They say the words Kuli High. Kuli High. That's the name of the new Frum resort in Hawaii. Kuli High. But anyway, never mind. I'll work on that. I'll come up with something. The Frum resort for those who use cannabis. Kuli High. That will be the name of the resort. But they use the term Kuli High and all that because it's still why, and they don't use the problem that it leads to that they're doing this because it leads to a problem. They're not saying that in other words, they're not saying that this is. They don't use the term sayag or something that I don't think it's a sayag issue. That's why I think it's a shame issue. Anglahatir Kuli High. Okay, fine. Now, let's look in Shulchan Aruch and let's read Aleph in the Shulchan Aruch. And Alan, will you please read Aleph? Sadi Tet, give the people a moment. Dinat Somos, and it starts Chatichat Nevela. Do you have it, Alan?
Yes, I've got it.
Okay, please.
Okay, חתיכת נבלה שיש בה בשר ועצמות שנפלה לכדי ההתר. עצמות האיסר מצטרפים עם ההתר לבטל האיסר. ואין צריך לומר שעצמות ההתר מצטרפים עם ההתר. אבל המוח שבעצמת האיסר מצטרף עם האיסר.
Why is that a good line for us? About moach shebatzamos iser mitzarek in the iser. Now we clarified that too. We didn't know how to read it exactly right. Was it talking about the atzamot that has moach, or are we talking about the moach? And here we see what else?
Right. We thought it was plausible that maybe the fact that there's moach in the bone causes the entire bone to be rendered susceptible to the iser, but no, we're saying here it's just the substance of the moach inside that gets counted. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Do the Ramah. Okay. The Miriam. Oh no, I'm sorry. The Haggadera, right? The Guf Haggadera.
Right. The Guf Haggadera ina mitzrefet lo ima iser v'lo ima heter.
No change there. Read the Haggadah.
Right. ויש מחמירים שלא לצרף עצמות האיסור עם ההתר, לבטל. ובמקום הפסד יש לסמוך המקלים ומתירים, כי כן עיקר.
Now we get the Ikar Adin, and now we get the term Kula. And why do we get this now from the Ramah? Why is he the one who gives us this gift of terminology? I'm not sure I have the answer. Why is it? Why now? Because he's mamish a posek, He's being transparent.
It feels like he's sneaking in a chumrah to me.
But he introduces the chumrah, right? Only to then roll it back for hefted.
I mean, it's not a chumrah. He's just staying consistent with what more like the shaydara and the bach like it's like
he's not originating the chumrah. I'm saying he's sneaking in because he's saying v'yesh machmirim, but then he's like, which sounds like there are those people who say that, but then he says uv'makom hefsed yesh lismachmirim.
Like lechatchila, probably you shouldn't count them towards this, but if you did it, whatever.
I mean, lechatchila, this whole thing is b'diavad. We're not like.
Okay, good.
As in if you have like less of a hefsed, like.
Okay, we're fine.
Right. So in the sense, the Ramah is actually capturing the faithful sense of the Bach, right?
We are fine. Let's look at the Taz.
But saying only like how on Klalei how to
what
read
do you
the
want to tell me? What?
How to read the Ramah? Like I'm not saying what he thinks. What he thinks. Tachlis, when the Ramah brings Veyesh, means that he thinks that's how you should do lekatchila.
Yes,
like, in his opinion.
Yesh, right? Yesh. It has ontological significance. That's why in Rav Kook you see yesh. Okay, yesh, but here's the sibli. Okay, the Taz. Okay, so Ilana, start the Taz. That's please. Tzaditet Aleph. Atzamos Isur Mitzdarfi.
Atzamot ha'isur mitzdarfin leheter, okay? Lefi she'enam bnei achila, enam bichlal ha'isur. Umikol
Isn't that a
makom,
beautiful line? That's beautiful. Now we got it. Okay, Umikol Makom.
umikol makom boli'im hem al yedei habishul. Al ken mitzdarfin levatel ha'isur, ki ha'isur mitpashet gam letochan. V'yesh
This
behem
is
gam ken.
beautiful. I'm sorry, it's very beautiful. Okay, so no,
The-
so if they're inedible, why in the hell were you talking about it? Because they're sponges.
Right, because they absorb the flavor
Right.
when during the cooking process, right?
Right. V'yesh behem.
ויש בהם גם כן לחלוכית לבלבל האיסור שבולעים מן הבשר האסור.
Whoa, that's a new deal, huh? Wasn't expecting that. What was lachluchit before for us?
מוח.
A bad thing.
Bad thing. And what's lachluchit here? It's
Good thing.
good. It's that grease. I mean, it's the grease cutter. It's the Ajax. It's cutting through. It's
Right, I mean,
getting
this
rid of-
is what
it's Bavel
he-
Bell.
like, this is related to the Bach.
It's Bavel Bell to taste. Yeah, what?
Right, this is what he ends up needing to do to distinguish the atzamot from the kedera, right? Like this is like relating to the bas, the saying like on the one hand, previously we've been saying lachluchit should add to the iser, but we have to say something about how atzamot have a little more like of a goof, of a meaningful presence to push back against the iser than a stam kedera. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense why it would be mitpashet throughout the atzamot in a way that's mevatel, but not throughout the kedera.
Beautiful. It's good. It works. Next line, Umori Chami.
Umori Chamizal.
And who was his father-in-law?
The Bach.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll leave it there. So it's good to quote your father-in-law. This is what I wanted to say from the Taz. But I think just at the beginning of the Shach, but the whole Taz is great, but we did what's important. Could you just read the line at the beginning of the Shach?
עצמות האיסור וכולי, ולפי עניות דעתי, שנייה,
The Shas, yeah.
בש"ס וירושלמי, כדת
Hara'ah, just the raw.
אוקיי,
Vaharan.
אוקיי, בספר בדק הבית, והר"ן, פרק ג' הנשה, דעצמות הרכות מצטרפים לאיסור מפני מוח שבהן ומחמת רכותן שיצא לחוט, אבל עצמות יבשים או קליפות של ביצים וכי הגבנה, אף אותן של איסור מצטרפים לבטל האיסור, וכן דעת האיסור וההיתר הארוך כלל כ"ח.
Okay, so you shouldn't forget about the Moach, okay? Moach still in play when it's there as Moach. Okay, so now let us go to Bet in the Shulchan Aruch, just so we see how he finishes everything up. So Bet. Okay, so I'll read Bet. The Medavarim Memorim. Atzamos isur bistarfim imaheter kishenafla chatichat nevelo kedera etc. Kishi chaya. Abel im we didn't really talk about it. I'm sorry. Abel im nis bashla tefila va'achar kach nafla kedera etc. Atzamos shaba bistarfim im haisur lefi shabalu mibasar hanevela kishenit bashla. Levada. But he does get there. Does he get the word tefillah in there also? He gets the levada, because everybody had a problem with the Torah on that. Yeah, tefillah and levada. He's got that sense. He's just like that. Joel, tell us what bet means.
That if you had cooked the bones previously somewhere, or cooked the meat with the bones somewhere previously else, the whole thing becomes a nevela. So.
And
So you can't count the bones. You count the bones are in negative territory, not positive territory or neutral territory anymore.
right. Okay, good.
The bones
Gimel.
or Nevela language only applies to the like the Hanan Bishari Sorim people, right? Like for the
Right.
Hanan only in Basar V'chalav, it's not that the bones are Nevela, but it's that we think they've absorbed some of the mass of the meat, and so we can no longer measure just based off the meat.
So if they're balua, that itself is not a problem though. Okay, Bashari Surim Chusme Basar B'chalav, that's Gimel. Chatichat HaBalua Me'isur Misarep Es Leba'al, as I just said, Levatel HaIsur. Right. Haga Ve'ein Noagin came. Hikaimlan B'chol Isurim Chaticha Na'aseh Nevela. This is important. This is really important. So we're saying it's always Hanan. So therefore, going back with you, Joel, what's the halachic implication of all this? If we say all Isurim, we have Hanan.
Then then the case, then you count the entire volume of the Isur once it's balua from of the thing that was heter once it's balua from Isur. That whole thing has a status. You have to count against its whole volume and not just what it's bolea.
So he really cancels, the Ramah cancels the psak of the Shulchan Aruch. And what kind of legal discourse is this, Joel?
The Ein Nohagin, you mean?
Yeah.
We paskin differently, right? It's going to
completely.
Yeah.
This is not like, is there any apology here?
I mean, no. I mean, we could say Ein Nohagim is soft language, but I mean, that's what the Ramah uses. He's like, we don't hold that. End of story, right? So it's not like Mina Karadin, you're right, but we generally don't. We're machmir. This is like we don't paskin that way. So.
And practically, what does this mean? You have a Sephardi and an Ashkenazi. What does that mean?
For a Sephardi, you can have a case where something is boleh from an Isur, and it can be batel to a Sephardi and not to an Ashkenazi, because the piece is too big to be batel, but the stuff it absorbed is not too big to be batel. So Sephardi can eat the soup.
What did he say?
I said, so Sephardi could eat the soup, and I couldn't eat it in this case, right?
Okay. 1 second. Read the Yavni. There. Read the Bear Hativ. On hay. Bear Hativ on hay. Balua. First of all, tell me what is this talking about, then read it.
Wait, sorry, I'm just finding it. You mean Siv Katanhe?
Yeah, in Bear
Habalua? Yeah. What is it? So what is it referring to?
Yeah.
That's the statement in the Mechaber that says that B'shar Yisurim we don't hold Chatichat Nasa Nevela, so we can use it to Mvatel Yisur. Yeah.
To be Mvatel. Okay,
yeah,
good.
To be Mvatel. To count with a heter. Sorry. הבלועה, פירוש חתיכה הבלועה מאיסור שנפלה להיתר, ואין בהיתר 60 לבטל האיסור, אלא בצירוף החתיכה מצטרפין גם החתיכה לבטל. So it's just like spelling out what the situation, like spelling out the situation. מיהו החתיכה עצמה אסורה, כמו שכתב המחבר בראש סימן ק"ו, אבל אין נוהגין כן לדידן, אלא צריך 60 נגד כל החתיכה, ואפילו הכי החתיכה עצמה אסורה. So if it's like the situation is, we have a piece of heter meat that got isur flavor in it. It fell into a pot of heter. If there is 60 against the original isur, then but not against the chaticha of heter that got the isur flavor, then the mechaber says you can it can be batel, but that piece that they had the original flavoring is asur, and you have to take it out. And we Ashkenazim hold that like it's that you actually need that the whole thing is asur in that situation. And if you have 60 against the whole chaticha that fell in, such that it's mevatel, then the soup is okay, but you still have to take out the chaticha.
Because the chaticha itself is asur.
Is asur.
That, Joel, that's what you didn't answer my question to you about the Ashkenazi and the Sephardi.
Fair enough.
That it could be they're eating the same soup, right? But because there is 60 there, and they have a good soup, but that particular piece of meat's floating around, right? And the Ashkenazi cannot eat it because it's atzma, it's asur. Why is it atzma?
Wait, I would say that the Sephardi also can't eat it.
Yeah, the chaticha atzma is asur to everybody. It's just a question of whether or not the volume.
Why is it asur? You're right. Why is it asur? You're right. Why is it asur?
Because it by itself wasn't mevatel, right? And so it creates this, even though the whole volume isn't, we're not worried about, we are worried the status of that piece is now still asur, even to the Sfaradim.
Okay. Let's go to Daled now. Alice, I start back with you. Daled, Misha'arim.
Sure. Mesharim berotev uvbekipa perush hadak shel basar v'tablin hamita seif b'shulei akdera uv'chaticha.
What's the technical term for that?
Like the kind of the crusty stuff.
Gunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
ובחתיכת ומשארים ההתר והיסר כמו שבא לפנינו. אף על פי שהיה בהתר יותר מתחילה ונתמעט בבישולה ונבלע בקדרה.
Okay, look at the Taz now. אפילו שהיה בהתר יותר מתחילה. In other words, it was bigger than. ונתמעט בבישולה ונבלע בקדרה. Right? Read the top. I mean the shach. I'm sorry, the shach.
Yeah, I was looking for that in the.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
Got it.
Okay.
אפילו הכי אין משארים אלא כמו שבא לפנינו, שגם באיסור היה יותר ונתמעט ונבלע בקדרה.
Okay, we missed that. I mean, that's all over there in the tour. I mean, in the Nosei Kelim on the tour, but it's very hard right now. What's the call? What is the principle we found here? Just repeat it, please.
Okay, we can't be lenient and looking at the ratio that we see it now because maybe the Isser shrunk as much or more than the Heter portion.
Okay, this is the tour. Atan Lashon tour. Go ahead.
Medivei Rashi Verush. That's where he got it from. The Katab Mahershal Perik Yidnasha Siman Lamadalid Vizel Shno Benira. בעיניי, אפילו כאשר ראינו שנפל האיסור וכולי, אין לשער במאי דבעלה קדרה, כי אין לעמוד על שורש הדבר, ולא ידע כמה בלעה הקדרה, וכמה פעמים יבוא קלקול מזה, אלא לעולם משארין כמו שבא לפנינו.
So what's he saying? First of all, don't you like the Lashon here? Right? Shorish davar, ein la'amod shorish davar, right? You think you're a geek. You think you're going to figure it out. I've had a lot of experience. I know the percentages. This happens to me all the time. I know. You don't know. You have to do it on a masha balafonenu. All right? Not deductive or whatever you call it, empirical. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Even if you were in the room where it happened. Okay.
Good. Right.
ורש"י לא פסק אחי, אלא מדינה. אבל מכל מקום, עיקר הדבר שלא לשער, אלא כמו שבא לפנינו. כך הוא הדרך נכון לכתחילה. עד כאן.
Very good. Now let's finish the Shulchan Aruch.
Okay, we left off Vahani Mile.
Vahani Mile.
והנמילה במין בשאינה מינו, אבל אם הוא מין במינו, משארים גם במה שבלעה הקדרה, ועומד בדפני הקדרה, ומשארים זה עומד יפה, וראינו אותו כאילו הוא בעין. אבל מה שקלה ואיבד מחמת האור, אינו מצטרף, שזה קלה לגמרי.
Okay, can't do anything with that. Now, go to the Taz Hey. Taz Hey, everybody. The Hani Mili.
Taz Hey, והני מילה מים שאינו מינו, שבזה צריך 60 מן התורה, כיוון דנותן טעם. על כן, אין לשאר הבלוע.
The shishim there is what? Is deraisa, right? And therefore, al kain English. How does that? How do you deduce that? English higher habalua.
Well, then we have a suffix right, and we have to go to chumrah.
And therefore, we don't start talking about what's inside the pot, because that's just conjecture. The ein lomar.
ואין לומר, עמי אנו מתירים ביש עכשיו 60 לפנינו. שמה בעת נפילה האיסור היה האיסור גדול מאוד, שמה בעת נפילת האיסור היה האיסור גדול מאוד, ונצטמק ממנו הרבה, ממה שנצטמק כהתר. והחזוקי איסורה לא מזקינן. Okay. So you could raise this problem.
No, just finish up a couple more words.
Okay.
We'll come back.
כיוון שעכשיו אין ריאותה ויש שישים.
Yesh samach. Okay. What's the principle? Achzuke Yisura lo machzikinun. Anybody know?
It seems like we're not going to assume that make a general assumption that something is usher, but beyond that, anyone else should feel free to jump in.
We don't strengthen the Isur. I mean, literally, we don't strengthen the Isur. We know what we had. That says in this context, Kevish Achshav Ein Reyuta. First of all, we haven't. Reyuta means we have nothing that would lead. We have no degeneration would probably be the word. We have nothing within the bones, looking at the bones or anything that leads us to think that it was much more and it had an exceptionally large exceptionally large contraction. There's no reuta here about that. The yesh samach, and we have samach. Don't be so frum. I would never write this. I think it should be very, very frum. It says here, I didn't write this. You don't have to make you already got an Isur. That's why we need to have shishim. So now you want to cancel the shishim without any reason? Why? Because you got fantasies about the roast being that much larger, and you not fantasies. You have a paranoia about that. It's a paranoia. It's a very important principle, especially when we have. Look how it says it here. The yesh samach. In other words, and how do we begin this story, Ilana? What's our goal? What's the name of the story? Getting to 60. We got to 60. Yes, next week is Lexi. She's going to start from Hay. Send them stuff, Lexi. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
you.